Well, afternoon, Rod. Welcome to the Beer Garden, the Ring of Bells in Crystalton in Cheshire. Very posh, very relaxed on a nice afternoon. And I'm here to sort of do a brief interview with you to help you in your campaign to stand for council member for the West Midlands. So my first question will be, tell us a bit about your background, both in work, professionally, and within the RCN.
Well, I started in nursing indirectly. I was an undergraduate science student and I needed a summer job, and my friend persuaded me to take on a job as a ward orderly in a disabled ex-servicemen's hospital outside of Glasgow. Loved it. Went back to being an undergraduate student but never actually settled into it. So found my way through that, back into the hospital and into being a psychiatric student nurse. I've done all sorts of things since then in terms of general nursing, working in A&E, but my particular area over the years has been public health.
And I guess you should also say something about your RCN career as well.
Yeah, again, fortunate in my RCN career in having a mentor who was the district nurse and local steward for the RCN, and she persuaded me to go along to RCN Congress. She also persuaded me to be a safety rep, so I was an active member of the Greater Glasgow branch for many years before moving down to England and being part of different activities, including being chair of the RCN Health Visitor Forum.
That's fine. Well, that's a nice introduction. But today, of course, this is about why you want to stand as the council member for the West Midlands. So why do you want to stand for the council member for the West Midlands?
It's a combination of things, Mike. I've been working in the West Midlands for 10 years. I've been predominantly in Shropshire and Herefordshire, but I've been able to work across different aspects of the region, so I know it pretty well. We've got a situation where, both for nursing and for the RCN, we are at a pivotal moment where we really need to push for fairer pay, safer staffing, better terms and conditions. And indeed, we need for the RCN to change the way that it approaches these types of issues so that we become a more active and more assertive force for nursing at a time of great change for the profession. And I think, given the experience I have both as an active RCN member and in different aspects of nursing care, I can provide that range of advocacy that's needed.
Great. So what do you think are three of the main issues that the RCN need to deal with?
There's a combination of things. Pay is still a burning issue for us, and that's, as we've seen this week in terms of Northern Ireland and the unfair situation that they have. It's essential that we get fair pay for every member of the nursing family. Quality of care and safe staffing, whether in the NHS or in the independent sector, is essential, because without that we have a combination of things. We have unsafe situations for patients, but we also have unsafe situations for staff. We have a profession then that becomes something that isn't seen as an attractive career, because you are coming into a situation as a nurse where you are worried about your ability to provide high quality care. You're also worried at home that you can actually make ends meet and pay the bills that you've got. So for me, those are really the key issues for us at this time.
I'm glad you mentioned the independent sector, because sometimes people think the RCN is just about the NHS. And what do you think are the challenges in terms of organisation in the independent sector to improve not just pay, but just the whole quality of experience for staff working in those areas? Because there's a lot of evidence that shows that if you haven't got a good work environment, then it's impossible to deliver any quality services.
When the independent sector is vast, and up to about a third of our members are working in some capacity in the independent sector. some areas of that are brilliant and are showing how high quality care can be provided. Others are facing similar challenges to the NHS in terms of recruitment and retention of staff and in poor working conditions. So it's essential the RCN is advocating both for those staff as well as those who are working in the NHS. We're also seeing a situation where, particularly in England with the market economy that's there, that individuals are being transferred from the NHS into independent sector organisations or private sector organisations and losing their NHS terms and conditions. Maybe not initially, but over some time.
Do you think the principle of having a UK-wide pay system exists now with what's gone on in Guernsey, what's gone on in the Isle of Man, what's going on in Northern Ireland, the difference in the pay deal between Wales and England, and especially the enhanced pay deal that Scotland have got, because of course it's only England that has that commercialised system of the NHS?
It is, and I've said for some time that as far as the NHS is concerned, we don't have a UK NHS. We have 4 NHS systems in the 4 main countries. But indeed, as you touched on, the Isle of Man and the Channel Islands have their own healthcare systems, and they have their own pay in terms and conditions. The thing that the RCN can do is to try and ensure that there is a core standard of pay across all of those areas, and that acts as the yardstick for employers, whether they be in the Isle of Man or in the independent sector, to ensure that a band 5 nurse or a band 7 nurse is being valued by their patients, by their employers, and that value is expressed not just in terms of the money they receive, but the quality of the terms and conditions that they have.
Okay, that's a nice rounded answer. The next thing I want to move on to is this issue about member engagement, because like other trade unions and like a lot of other organisations in the private sector as well, is that the issue of actually engaging with people is becoming more and more difficult and diffused, especially with the use of social media. Social media doesn't seem to bring people together. It gives them the opportunity to have diverse opinions. How do you think the RCN should deal with this?
It's critical to understand that in an organisation of over 400,000 members, there will be those who will wish to use the RCN as an insurance policy. And they won't wish to have any form of active engagement unless they're in trouble, unless they need it. So they'll see it in the same way as any form of insurance that you have. But critically, there's an onus on the RCN to always try and engage with every member, whether they are seen as an active member or a passive member. And it's ironic that given the number of forms of communication that we have, over the years the RCN has become poorer at having high quality engagement with its members. And critically, it has to be able to do that. It has to be able to demonstrate that it's a member-led organisation, and that members have confidence that the RCN is not just listening to them, but acting on their concerns.
And then of course that leads into that if you're going to have member communication, it's always a two-way system. What's the value and the importance of volunteering within the RCN, whether it's on a professional forum side or on a trade union side, if there is such a thing as sides?
I don't see it as sides. I mean, I've been fortunate to have been a volunteer in a whole range of things, from at the Olympics as a games maker, Commonwealth Games, the World Athletics Championships, and I can see how major events like this can rely on volunteers as well as their paid staff, and without a good degree of cooperation between those two, use your term, sides, the thing won't work. Where we've become weak in recent years as the RCN is that we've not engaged as actively with our members as we should. Members have felt disenfranchised from the organisation, and therefore there is a major effort for us to show that we're actually making that difference, and we're doing that in a way that demonstrates to members that they're being listened to and their concerns are being addressed.
Then what skills can you bring to that debate? Because I think people get the idea that you can promise things, but what it is that how can you influence council to make those big steps and to reform their ways?
I think the advantage I have is I've been an activist at all sorts of levels within the organisation, and still keeping as close as I can to the grassroots of the organisation. But balanced against that, I've had the experience of being on council and knowing how the organisation does work and should work, that I can be that bridge between the two parts of the organisation. And critically for me, I think in the roles that I've had as Vice Chair of Congress and Chair of Congress, and seeking the opinions, the views of members and acting on that, and delivering on those things that are important to members, I think I can actually take that into council if I was elected as the council member for the West Midlands.
I mean, this year is a really important year for the UK and for the future of the Union of the UK with Brexit. And also, it's really interesting that in 2019, which is potentially a revolutionary year in our history, we're not that far away from 1819 when there was a revolutionary urge after the Peterloo massacres in Manchester. How do you think this year is going to pan out for our European nurses that work in the NHS, with us coming out of Europe, the ability to recruit staff from overseas? What do you think are the three big main issues around that?
Around that, we're already seeing from the figures that come from the NMC that a significant number of our European and overseas nursing colleagues have lost confidence of working in the NHS. The numbers who are coming into the UK has dropped significantly. The numbers who've decided to go home has increased significantly. Now, there was always a churn, but what we've seen since the referendum vote is that churn has become even worse, and the total numbers of individuals that we have seen leaving our profession has been significant. That's going to put more pressure on our existing nurses of whatever background they are, and it will mean that safe staffing will become even more difficult to achieve. It will also mean that the profession itself becomes less attractive to individuals, because if you have poor working conditions, poor staffing levels, and shifts that are antisocial, you're going to have individuals leaving the profession, or indeed deciding that they don't want to come into the profession at all.
Well, Rod, as we get to the end of this interview, tell us, in your own words, what are your passions about nursing, and how you see you'll relate to members of the West Midlands, and why they should vote for you?
As I mentioned earlier on, I came into nursing by chance and discovered that it was the place that I wanted to be. Instead of being a general scientist, that I wanted to work with people, I wanted to make a positive difference to their life. And that's partly why increasingly in my career I was drawn into public health, because it was about preventing people becoming ill. It was about making a difference to people at a crucial stage in their life. And for me, that passion has linked into what I've been able to do as an activist within the RCN. One of the things I think I can do as a council member for the West Midlands is give a really strong focus to that region, because though as a council member you have a national role, critically as the council member for the West Midlands you have an opportunity to engage with all of the NHS organisations, all the independent sector organisations, to make a difference to the things that matter to members locally. The fact that I have a network across all parts of the West Midlands, that I've got an opportunity to engage with whether it's local authorities, NHS trusts, independent sector employers, organisations like the Directors of Adult Social Care, means that I can engage engage on different issues. Because I've been working in local government for the last 6 years, I've also got an opportunity of engaging with politicians in a way that could make a difference. So whether that's the health oversight and scrutiny committees, whether it's the engagement with health and wellbeing boards, to use that knowledge and experience to influence those things that matter to members locally as well as matters to members nationally.
Well, Rod, thank you for that. Good luck for your campaign.
Thank you.
Good luck on getting onto council, and good luck being the William Wallace of the West Midlands.
I'm not sure I want to be the William Wallace
Well,
of the West Midlands.
don't-
I'm going to be hung, drawn and
Yeah, I was about to say, if you do fancy yourself being the William Wallace of the West Midlands, when you go to London, make sure you're a council, not a type in. Thanks.
Thank you.